when things are going bad around the world, and you see Sikhs who come out of their household without fearing what's happening, corona ho raha hai, kya ho raha hai bahar, and they are serving the needy. And those videos are circulating, and it makes you feel so proud that that you belong to this community who's living the values of Vand Chakna with so many needy people. So, and I'll relate one more thing. So in the Ardas, it comes Man Niva Mat Uchi, right? And it comes and it goes, and it's Man Niva, humility. So you lead your life with humility, and you go to a corporate world or at home, and say, my daughter's name is Maskeen, for example, and that means the humble one, right? So, and are we leading our lives with humility, or our egos come in between and we get angry? But the Ardas tells us, Man Nima, humility, right? If something happens, don't mind it, right? Humility. And Mat Uchi, right? So, do the things in the right manner, and do the right moral compass. And you go to the corporate.
Hello and Sat Shri Akal everyone. It's another Saturday and we have another guest on Singhs in Conversation. And today's conversation is going to be very interesting. We have a corporate titan, Mr. Sandeep Singh Juneja, joining us. He's the VP of Sales and Marketing at DHL. He'll be joining us for a conversation on topics ranging from e-commerce to how COVID has impacted businesses, to his personal journey from one region to the another as he grew up, his Sikh identity and his identity with Punjabi, and how he treats Punjabi as a language and how that appeals to him personally, and how he's bringing that as he raises his two daughters. So we'll have a brilliant journey. I think one of the brilliant aspects that I love absolutely about joining and doing Singhs in Conversation is that there are a lot of Sikh personalities outside. Each one is a brilliant icon, absolutely brilliant icon. Each one is a brand ambassador of Sikhism, which is very rare to find. I hadn't thought of it like that ever, but that's what it is. Each Sikh out there is a brand ambassador. Whether we have had Sabir Virji, or whether we have had Tarvinder Virji, or we've had Harjinder Virji, each one of them has had such a different outlook on how they take whatever they want to from the religion and they carry it forward. For someone, it's tolerance. For someone, it's the fact that it makes them become a better human being every day. So I think the range of emotions and the range of values they take across is brilliant. So I think we have our guest joining in. Let's wait for him. But yeah, as I was saying, it's a brilliant format, and I get to see these brand ambassadors. So Sikhism is way beyond. So the philosopher Sikh principle is so deeply entrenched, and yet we don't know about it. Anyways, welcome Sandeep. Welcome to Singhs in Conversation.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, it's an honor. How's your Saturday going?
Okay. Okay, Saturday, some little bit of lazy morning, some work, more homework. Then I've joined a class on every Saturday wherein I'm learning something called Sujok therapy, SUJOK.
Oh, interesting.
Then the entire body can be treated by your hand, right? The entire body rests on the hand, right? So I'm learning something new on a Saturday. So that's Saturday. If you ask me about Sunday, it'll be another story altogether, right? So that's really
interesting. I think before I move on, I have to compliment you on your turban. I think we were talking earlier as well. I love how it's beautifully styled. It's very symmetric and well styled, and the color suits you really well. The red color.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So nice of you. Thank you.
So welcome on board. I think there are a ton of things we want to discuss with you today. But before I introduced you as VP of Sales and Marketing at DHL, but I think that's like saying that the Himalaya Parvat is Mount Everest is these many feet tall, and not talking about anything else about it. So I think I'll hand it over to you. Just walk us through your journey, how it's been right from the start, and through your corporate journey till today.
Yeah. So Ajay, you called me up the other day when you were trying to sort of set me up. Etc. And I think then you asked me various questions. One of the questions you asked me was about my parents. And I was telling you that I come from Dehradun, right? So my parents hail from Punjab in Pakistan, and they were refugees in India. And then I think they got some land for farming in Firozpur and in Punjab, and for some reason they got residential properties in Dehradun. And you asked me how Dehradun, and I told you I don't know how Dehradun. So that set me thinking. But yes, so that's where I grew up. I grew up in Dehradun, and so I did my schooling in Dehradun. Then I was, I think, a decent student. Some between bright and decent students. So the one thing I was not good at was sports. I still remember when I was growing up, there was a big place. You have in Bombay, you call them row houses, but in Delhi we used to call them houses only. We didn't know anything else. But Bombay has flats, more flats and less row houses. So we owned a house and we used to put two bicycles in front of my house on the green patch. There was a green patch, a road, another green patch, such wide roads. And across the bicycles, I used to play badminton. That was my early sporting career. Then obviously I started building courts somewhere and then starting playing badminton. But I was never a good sports person. Yeah, and then when I changed my school when I was in class 11, and that school had a regimen of कि जो भी बंदा स्कूल पढ़ता हैगा उन्हें 2 बजे sports ground होना ही होना है. So therefore that was a discipline, and I used to go to that sports ground every day at 2 o'clock, and something came out of me, right? And so I was this boy in school, and I started playing sports. The only sport I actually picked up of material difference was badminton, and I went to my engineering college, right? So that exposure, because somebody made me do it, sort of some shoots of sporting started coming inside me in school. And I went to my engineering college. I went to Bihar. It was School of Mines Dhanbad at that time. It's now IIT Dhanbad. But School of Mines Dhanbad was known for its mining engineering and petroleum engineering. And for some reason, not known to me and to my father, I went there to do mining engineering. But I went there, right? So that was the exam I got good rank in, and I went there to do mining engineering. And there's a story behind that, but I'll come to that later. But as I went to my college, and an engineering college, everything is available so cheap and so top quality. It was a UGC funded college. It's an IIT now. I used to pay, I think, 30 rupees and play 6 months of tennis with ball boys and clay courts. And I used to play badminton. I used to play volleyball. And I played university level badminton. I played university level volleyball. I played university level tennis. I was a runner. I was a shot putter. I was a champ in arm wrestling. Now, if you meet students of my batchmate, I earned friends for life in engineering college, and they're still there. They abuse me all the time. But if you ask people from engineering college, who am I? I'm a sportsman. If you ask people from my schooling time, they'll say, oh, okay, chalega. So therefore, if the learning is that if you give exposure and if you push your limits, you can do things which you were never, you never thought of doing, right? So, and I learned in my corporate life, so I'll put a line here, and somebody, our global CEO, I heard him saying this line, so I said, he asks us, when was the last time you did something for the first time, right? So it's so profound, right? And in our lives, we stop experimenting, right? And we keep doing things the way we are doing it. So the point is, when was the last time you did something for the first time? So I'm trying to learn joke therapy these days. This is the first time I'm learning something like that. It's so interesting. And so that was my engineering college. To come back to my college. So from Dehradun to Dhanbad, and then I came to Delhi to do my. I started working for a Swedish engineering company called Atlas Copco. Worked with them. I did my MBA thereafter, and then I came to DHL. So I'm a mining engineer, MBA in marketing from FMS Delhi, and now I work for DHL for the last 16 years. So pretty stable careers in that sense. Good time in Atlas Copco, and then a fairly long time in DHL. There's one more incident, if I may, since you asked me. Absolutely. I'll relate that incident. So I immediately after my class 12, I didn't know what I had to do. I think there are a few blessed people who know what they had to do, but I'm one of those people who didn't know what they had to do, and therefore I made the best of whatever I was doing. Right, so I came to Delhi and I said, "Look, I've done my class 12. I need to do my Delhi Hindu college, etc. admission." So I came there. So I went to Delhi and I said, "Okay, brother, I had a cousin brother there. I said, I'll possibly stay with you." For some reason, he convinced me. Let's not get into the reason, but he convinced me to go back to Dehradun, right? So he said, no, this is not the best thing to do. And in my mind, I've always nursed a grouse against my brother, saying, why the hell did you send me back from Delhi, right? So, but, and as they say, whatever happens, happens for the good. I had that grouse. I kept feeling, yeah, and then I went to do engineering. My father didn't know where I'm going. I didn't know of a place called Dhanbad, right? But those were the best 4 years of my life, the fantastic memories. And there's so much I learned there. And I think that was a springboard. Such a prestigious institute that brought me with quality people who studied with me. And therefore, I then moved step by step from there. So whatever happens, happens for the good. And when was the last time you did something for the first time? Over to you.
Amazing. I think that there's so many things to unpack in the whole thread that you mentioned. The thread that you mentioned, that obviously exposure made you a sports person, right? And you pursued sport. Are you still would you still call yourself an active sports guy? Do you do gymming or do you exercise, or did you lose that in your college? Was it like phases? Ki school mein nahi tha, college mein tha, and then again it died down. How is it today?
So I pursued it quite a bit. As a matter of fact, in our stressful lives, that gives us the balance, right? So the balance towards physical fitness, and unless you're physically fit, you can't be successful in your career, at home, etc. My wife will come back and tell me in a little while that you don't do as much as you talk. But there is, in the last few years in particular, I think the balance has moved a bit. But I try and catch up my game of badminton or tennis, or run a bit. We have a cycle at home which you put on a trainer, so you don't have to go out to cycle. So I think these are some things around me. So I built that ecosystem. I think, but I need to do more of it, to be honest. But I am still in it, and I'm not out of it really. So yeah.
I think another interesting question which you were discussing the other day as well, I was thinking about it. You moved from Dehradun and you had a chance to come to Delhi, which is considered more of a Punjabi, heartland, because of the refugees. When they moved, bulk of them moved to Delhi, and then as some moved to Dehradun and other places, nearby Delhi. And then you came to Delhi, and obviously you also got to live through the DU experience, right? At FMS, the enchanting DU experience.
Correct.
So how was your transition as a Punjabi and a Sikh kid moving across from non-Punjabi backgrounds to suddenly coming to Delhi, working in Delhi, and then studying in FMS?
Yeah, I think I was telling you the other day that as I grew up in Dehradun, all my friends were Hindi speaking. Some of them English speaking also. So I grew up as a Hindi speaking kid largely. I used to go to the Gurdwara, yes, because we used to stay in a place in Dehradun where the Gurdwara was like maybe 20-30 meters from my house, very close, and it's the main Gurdwara of Dehradun. So, but still, I think because you grow up, if you stay near the sea, you know how to swim, right? So similarly, and how to fish, right? So in Dehradun, it was part of UP, and so I would meet Sikh professor in my engineering college, for example, and I was telling you the other day, he'd come and talk to me, and I'd run away from him thinking, you know what, he'll talk to me in Punjabi. So ऐसा बहुत मुश्किल हो जाएगा, मैं कितना गल करूँगा. And but in any case, so that was engineering. Then I came to work in Delhi, and but Delhi is so Punjabi, right? And that was somewhere inside me, and it just burst outside me, right? So, and I was absolutely normal Punjabi, and I was telling you that when I got married, and my wife and I were learning a dance form. So don't laugh at me, but jive and salsa. I'm pretty good at Bhangra also, by the way, but jive and salsa. And I used to talk to my wife and I tell her, "Dekh, ऐदा करते हैं, तू ऐदा ना कर, ओदा करते हैं, etc." So, and she tell me that, stop talking to me in that language, and talk to me in normal Punjabi, right? Don't do ऐदा ओदा, किथे पहुंच रहे हो, and stuff like that. So I think that Punjabi came out of me because that's what you are, right? And I think I was also telling you the other day that very often, so I'm in Mumbai, right? So I don't get to talk as much in Punjabi. So, and I'm on a conference call with my teammates or somebody, and the normal language is English, and you talk, and then you break the conference call. You're talking one-on-one to a person who incidentally is a Punjabi in your team.
Yeah.
And therefore, I love talking in Punjabi. So my daughter asked me, "Papa, you were just talking in English a little while ago. Hun to see kyun Punjabi ch gal kar rahe?" And I tell her the connect which comes, when I'm talking to her in Punjabi, and the warmth which moves on that bridge up and down. I think that's what your mother tongue brings to you, right? So that's my journey and learnings between Punjabi and English. So yeah.
So today, as a household with your daughters, is it a Punjabi first household, or is it a mix of similar? I have a similar background. My house is Hindi, Punjabi, English, everything mixed in. What is it? Is it predominantly Punjabi or predominantly English?
So it's a mix actually. It's a mix of Punjabi, English, and we are in Maharashtra, right? So my kids learn Marathi in school, And so, it's a very, very, very Cosmo environment. But fortunately for us, it's a mix of Punjabi, English. We don't speak Marathi, obviously, but our kids are learning Marathi. Up to a certain class, they learn Marathi, which is good also because we stay in Maharashtra.
Are
So,
you
mix of
picking it up
everything.
from them? Are you
Sorry?
picking up Marathi from them? Are you picking up Marathi from them?
Yeah, I mean, if you ask a person from an engineering college, what does he pick up in any language, he will tell you he picks up all the bad words in that language, right? But I'm picking up a bit of Marathi here and there. Yes, the colloquially used words I do pick up. Yeah, because that's commonly spoken in Mumbai also, right? So.
Oh, very interesting. So your household now will have soon, English, Hindi, Punjabi, and Marathi.
Marathi mix, yeah, for that matter.
So 4 languages. It's really cosmopolitan to grow up in.
Yeah.
You've had a very long career with DHL. Obviously, you said it's been 16 years, and logistics has always been the backbone of how goods are moved. But it's really picked up prominence since the emergence of e-commerce in the last 10 years. When Flipkart and Amazon and other players have come in, and they have invested their own efforts, but they're also relying on incumbents or larger players within the space. How do you see that movement? How do you see e-commerce and the logistics journey? How is it intertwined? How is that shaped up? How do you see that?
So when I joined this DHL logistics industry, and I joined DHL, I didn't know that it would be as complex an industry, because I came from an engineering business management background. But what happens is that in any services, industry, for example, you go to a restaurant or wherever, but let's say you stick to an engineering or a product, right? You buy an air conditioner for your office or your house. What happens is the air conditioner gets made in a plant in very stringent conditions, and the air conditioner gets quality tested. It is stamped which says QC, quality control done. And then the air conditioner leaves the factory and comes to your house. So therefore, all sorts of tests have happened before it comes to your house. And still sometimes things go bad and you feel bad about it. However, in logistics, for example, I work for a company which is an express company. A courier comes to your house to pick up something. The product we are making is like, the product is we pick it up from you and we deliver somewhere else, right? So when the courier comes to you and you give him you say, I'm giving a very important package to you. So what happens is we start manufacturing our product. We pick it up and we started manufacturing it then. So you as a consumer have joined the manufacturing cycle, right? I take it to the airport. You as a consumer are experiencing the manufacturing. I do customs clearance. You get a message. I take it to, let's say, America. I deliver it in New York. Through and through, when I deliver, I have completed my product. So through and through, you're a part of the manufacturing cycle. So what is the quality control I will do? The quality control I will do is through the people who are coming in interaction with you, through the systems, because you're following on the systems, how convenient the systems are, through my process, because my process goes bad anywhere. You will experience it because you're part of the manufacturing cycle. Now that is what makes logistics very, very difficult, because consumers are sitting inside the manufacturing cycle. But you have to be in logistics to realize, man, this is so complicated, right? And now we are moving roughly 1.2 million shipments every month.
Wow.
So about more than 10 million a year, right? Only from India. But we are in 220 countries as DHL. So it's a very complex industry, and processes and quality of people and IT backbone, that is what keeps us running. So that's logistics. But today, if you see logistics, it's such an integral part of what we are doing in the whole world. Nothing happens. Now, we often talk about globalization, whether globalization is here to stay or no. Protectionism is a new word. But the fact of the matter is, you see, we are in between C19, coronavirus 19, right? So coronavirus, how unfortunate it is, I'm very hopeful and looking forward to that we will come out of it over a period of time, hopefully earlier than later. But there's no bigger proof of globalization than coronavirus. Look at the way how it is spread, right? That tells you how people are moving across the whole world, right? Somebody is in a French ski resort, an Italian, and in that French ski resort, some coronavirus patients reached because they came for a conference to Singapore. And from French ski resort, it went to Italy. And you see, Italy, it shot up so much, right?
Yep.
And it's gone over the world, right? Tell me one, I don't think there's any country really of significant size and shape that doesn't have corona. So that's globalization, right? But globalization cannot happen without logistics. I'm coming back to logistics, right? So therefore, it is the heart to make the global trade and the national trade happen. There's so much of trade happening in India. And statistics from India, in India, 16% of our GDP is logistics, right? And, but if you go to developed world, it's 7 to 8% of the GDP. So therefore, if we are able to make logistics efficient, look how much of money will flow back into our GDP because it'll get saved. I think when you see the government trying to make India easy to do business with and reducing the trade barriers, they are trying to reduce the cost of logistics in the GDP because the more cost you keep unlocking, it helps the growth. It helps the growth even further. So that is what logistics in terms of importance in the world, in global trade, and how it sort of makes some sense in the Indian context. I hope I answered your question. Long answer to a short question.
Yeah, I in fact I have two follow up questions. The first is obviously you said that obviously logistics is the heart of any economy, and 16% you said of the Indian economy is logistics. A lot of Indian businesses that are looking to come online today. So on the payment side or coming online side, Paytm hai, ye hai, wo hai, everyone allows you to come online very quickly. But ordering to piche backend pe logistics is happening. Do you see that logistics has kept pace with the progress in other technologies, or there's still some time to go? And it's a people intensive effort. You manage a large team. I think you mentioned that you manage a 800 plus team. What are your learnings? How have you grown to manage that team? So both questions, has technology really progressed? Has logistics progressed on the technology side? And how do you manage a large people intensive operation?
So Ajay, you asked me many questions in the same question. If I was to break them down, the first thing you asked me about was, correct me if I'm wrong, e-commerce. The second thing you asked me was about the large team that we have to manage these days. And some bit on technology, keeping shape with, how do you manage with technology?
Technology, technology and logistics coming up to pace with payments. Like payments has seen so much technology come in. Has similar, steps happened in logistics as well?
Payments, yeah. Okay, so therefore, first of all, I'll answer the e-commerce and payment bit, right? So, I'm telling you figures which are about 6 to 7 months old because what's happened in COVID-19 is that e-commerce has seen a step jump. Step is actually a small word for the jump e-commerce has seen, right? But I'll come to that. So therefore, about 6, 7 months ago, when we did a McKinsey study, they were at any point in time, there was 1,600 crore devices which are online. We are online, right? Isn't it? So 1,600 crores devices globally online. Now, I personally think that this would have at least gone up by 50%. So you can imagine that more than 2,000 crore devices are online at any point of time as we speak. Now, that's a big number, right?
It's a big number.
Now, there's a whole lot of transactions happening on e-commerce. Now, if I only talk about cross-border e-commerce, right, because that's the world where I come from. Let me give a overall, if I remember my numbers right, maybe about 2,000 or 2,700 crores worth of e-commerce is happening, which is, they say about 1 to 2% of organized retail in any case, or retail. So therefore, e-commerce, while it is growing, it's still a smaller component of retail because retail has gone down during this period, but the size is big. If I look at cross-border e-commerce, it's about 70 lakh crores. That's very, very big. Now, the CAGR, the cumulative growth rate, compounded annual growth rate of cross-border e-commerce is 25%. Now, there's no business that grows by 25% year on year on year on year. As we speak, these businesses are growing by 70 to 100% because suddenly the demand is short. Therefore, you can see how many people are online, how many people are shopping online, the size of that business, and the growth rate of the business. Therefore, it's a very attractive market to stay away from, right? So, and then the question comes, the market's attractive, but kinna aukha hai is market kam karna? Main tum Nigeria bhej rahe. How can I send to Nigeria? Mainu thodi pata customs kidda di hai Nigeria. I'm sending to Brazil. Somebody is buying something from Brazil, right? But the point is that today, with the availability of companies like ours, for that matter, where you work with one company and they connect you to 220 countries globally. So the moment you start going on the internet, actually the whole world is your customer. And you can decide, I will sell on my own, I will sell on a platform like Amazon, eBay, Lazada. There's so many in different markets, right? And then the moment you come on this platform, you're selling to the whole world. It depends. So what really is important? The quality of your product, whether you are able to give a good customer experience, whether you are trustworthy. So when the customer uses you and he has a complaint, do you rise up to the occasion? But suddenly, 220 countries and logistics and customs and duties, they all fade away, right? Because there is an organization, there are organizations who offer you that seamless connectivity. So therefore, it becomes very simple. And there are a lot of technology-based tools available today, wherein you stay on one engine and your engine talks to 100 engines outside automatically. So for you, it is only one face in your computer and everything happens around it. I can get into more technical details, but I don't think it's needed really. The idea I'm trying to share with you, it's fairly simple. Technology is all pervasive. And even for that matter, you asked me about payments, right? So payments also, because of payment service providers, has become a fairly simple affair, right? They simplify things for you. They make the cost of finance very easy. As a matter of fact, you can sell in different countries on their local currencies and get Indian rupees in your bank.
Yeah.
Right? So you,
Absolutely.
so you're selling in Brazilian currency, and American currency, an Australian dollar, a Singapore dollar, whatever, Japanese yen. So somebody from Japan opens up their website and sees your product, the price is in Japanese, right? And therefore, these kind of technologies are available, which make things very simple. Yeah. So I think that's very, very strong. And the other point you asked me was, are you okay? Should I continue the next question?
I think I'll sum it up in your lines. कम औखा है, but technology ने शायद simple करता है.
Simple karta hai. Simple karta hai, right? So simple karta. So and the second part you asked me was around people.
Yes.
And I think I mentioned in logistics, people are very, 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 very crucial. But so are people crucial. For example, there's a very smart person who's asking me smart questions. If he doesn't ask me smart questions, I will not be able to think through and give you better answers. So people are very important in every walk of life. And the one thing that I think I want to leave behind is that I've learned in my life that one element. I'll take you back to my college. So when I was in my engineering college, I started feeling, I'm doing so well in my studies and my sports. I've become a cat, right? But as I progressed and I did my first job, I realized, no, I don't know so many things. And so as I did that job better in the second year, I realized, no, I don't know so many things. And when at home, I remember when my kids were small, I used to tell them, don't watch TV. And they prepared me. And I think my elder daughter used to ask me, but Dad, when you were watching TV, you watched it for so long, right? Why are you stopping me from watching TV? And so I learned. And I asked them these days, don't watch mobile. Then they watch the mobile time I spend on my mobile. Right? So I learned that, to make them learn also, you also have to learn. There's so much of learning all the time. And I sit in a room with 4 people. And I watched your interview, Ajay, earlier on, and you talked about how Sikhs differentiate themselves, right? And I learned something from what you were telling me. So therefore, there's so much to learn all the time, right? And therefore, this reminds me of a line we used to say, knowledge is power. Right? The new thing I've learned is that learning is superpower. Learning is superpower, right? And therefore, it's so important. I go back to say my earlier one saying, when was the last time you learned something for the first time? And as long as we are continuously learning, and that is what happens with people, right? So when you're working with people, are you creating a learning atmosphere? Are you listening to them all the time? And for instance, I'm 48 years now, and there are people in our team who are young. And they're far more knowledgeable about technology, and they have new ideas. Yeah? They are the Generation Z, for all millennials and younger people than that. And if I am not learning from them, I'm going to miss out something big time, right? So therefore, it's very important for me to create a system of candor where people speak their minds, right? They're not afraid when they're sitting on a table and I ask them for feedback. They don't think twice that if I give feedback, how will the organization look at me? Will they feel I speak too much? No. You don't speak too much. You have the ability to bring your opinion on the table. And therefore, are we creating that atmosphere where the youngsters bring their opinion on the table? You know what? Because when they bring their opinion on the table, I learn. And if I learn, I become better. And if I become better, my organization becomes better. So I think that learning is superpower concept really plays around the whole organization culture, right? And if the organization culture is like that, where people are learning, they're giving feedback to each other all the time, and they can trust each other. You know what? He's giving me feedback not because he wants to criticize me, but he's giving me feedback because he wants to improve me. right? He's telling me something that I'll become a better person. So my organization becomes a better place. So I think that is the kind of culture that we have to have in our organization. And culture eats strategy for breakfast, right? So,
Absolutely,
so
it
the
does
Sikh,
every day
so the
and
Sikh
twice on
culture,
weekends.
yeah. So the Sikh culture is so strong; it eats strategy for breakfast, right? So, and therefore, are we learning from our culture? Are we building the right culture? That's very important. So, the real meaning behind everything is very important.
Absolutely. I think I was reading a book recently which is called Radical Candor. I think all of what you said was that's it's modern lingo, it's modern management science, but it's as simple as that. Create a
Correct.
safe learning space where people can trust each other and take feedback and give feedback. It's as
Correct.
simple as that.
Absolutely.
Coming back to the logistics point, so we were
Yeah.
talking to a few entrepreneurs before this conversation, and there was one question that kept recurring. How do we make the whole process of shipping goods internationally paperless? Is that in the future? Is that going to happen? Is it going to become paperless? I throw that to you.
So there's something in our system which is called PLT. The first two letters you can guess, they are the answer to your question. Paperless, T is technology. Paperless trade. That's what it is called, PLT.
Yeah.
So what happens is globally in many markets where customs allow paperless trade, what happens is you process shipments in your facility, be it your house, if you're operating from house or from your office or from your factory. And whatever documents you provide while you're processing. So on the same system, you generate an invoice, you generate shipping labels, and you paste the shipping label on the box, which is okay. But the shipping label becomes, or the barcode on the shipping label becomes the ID. But all the other papers travel through your system, into our system, through our system, into customs system, and therefore to the destination. And so therefore, for example, I send something from India, I scan all the papers in India, and in America, US or Europe, wherever, they do customs clearance basis the documents they have scanned in the system. So they are paperless for that matter already. But in what happens in India, for example, uh, till some time back, they wanted proper signatures through a pen on a
Wet
document.
signature.
And
Yeah,
therefore,
like
a
back
hard
then.
invoice, hard invoice was used in the customs. But over a period of time, customs has been really, really doing a lot of things. So they've recently started paperless process in individual complex cargo clearance, informal clearance. All right. So informal clearance, they've started that, but you need to have a digital signature on that. So you need to buy a digital signature, which is therefore authorized signature, and you use it on your invoice. But the environment is still getting ready. So the systems are ready. But and our customs is fairly progressive because they are chasing the ease of doing business. And therefore, as customs makes the systems more and more ready, our systems are ready to enable paperless trade. Customs have to start accepting it. And therefore, it's not far away. It's a reality. It's happening in many countries. And I'm sure it will happen in India very, very shortly.
Amazing. I think that's great news for all the entrepreneurs who actually want answers to these questions, because when you're setting up a business, each when you set up a business, each aspect is so tricky, whether it's shipping your goods, whether it's payment, setting up your website, getting the product ready, and the more simplified everything gets, it's easier.
Absolutely.
I'll jump a hop. You mentioned that you have two daughters, right? And we'll jump to Punjabi back again. How do you view your Sikh identity, and how do you take that identity to your kids? How do you explain them what Sikhi is, or what values would you want them to imbibe out of that? And what do you imbibe in your day-to-day life out of it?
So I think these are very simple but very thought-provoking questions, and because somewhere we all become so busy in our lives that the line that I use, culture eats strategy for breakfast, is also a corporate line, isn't it? Peter Drucker said that line, right? So, and therefore, when we talk internally, we often say, what, we have to have the right culture, and if you have the right culture, the organization drives ahead. But the same applies to our personal identities also, isn't it? And therefore, the cultural values that we hold, how important are they? And therefore, if you listen to some of the simple but powerful values of Sikhism, right? Like Naam Japna, Kirat Karna, and Vand Chakna, they're so powerful. And very often, when things are going bad around the world, and you see Sikhs who come out of their household without fearing what's happening, Corona ho raha hai, kya ho raha hai bahar, and they are serving the needy. and those videos are circulating, and it makes you feel so proud that that you belong to this community who's living the values of Vand Chakna with so many needy people. So, and I'll relate one more thing. So in the Ardas, it comes Man Niva Mat Uchi, right? And it comes and it goes, and it's Man Niva, humility. So you lead your life with humility. And you go to a corporate world or at home, and say, my daughter's name is Maskeen, for example, and that means the humble one, right? So, and are we leading our lives with humility, or our egos come in between and we get angry? But the Ardas tells us, man nima, humility, right? If something happens, don't mind it, right? Humility. And mat uchi, right? So, do the things in the right manner and do the right moral compass. And you go to the corporate boardroom and somebody tells you know what? If it is not clear, yes. It's a no. So, wow, what a powerful line, Yeah, but it's in our culture, right? Matuchi. If it is not a clear yes, it is a no. If it's a maybe, it's a no, right? So therefore, in your moral compass, when you go back into the confines of your room and you're alone, and you ask yourself, did I do the right thing? He says, no, you did not do the right thing. It was the wrong thing. Don't do it. Ask yourself that question. Because if you do that, you always matuchi. Your moral compass is high. Therefore, culturally, we have such simple and strong values embedded in our culture. It really depends on how we understand them. And I think Guru Nanak Dev Ji and our gurus have left it behind for us to use those values and live our life very, very successfully. If you do Naam Japo, if you do Kirat Karo and you do one Chakko, you feel so good about yourself. You're successful. Right? So I hope I'm answering your question. I'm in my own way, but
it's such a beautiful answer. I've had 3 interviews till now that I've done with different folks, and the answers that come across are so simple, such simple answers. And I always awe at that. That people take away such simple, beautiful lessons out of what Sikhi is, and very seamlessly apply that to how they work, how they raise their families. It's such a beautiful concept to see every day. And especially, I think the concept that you said, Manniva Matuchi, is such a beautiful concept. We actually had a poster published on the Sing Style page that day. And it got, a bunch of likes and people appreciating it. It's such a simple concept, but in just 4 words, it's really, really powerful.
Right.
I think some wonderful lessons there. I think I can carry on this conversation for long. I'll take one final question and then we'll jump to the rapid fire. One final question is, COVID is all around, and obviously you would be, being a logistics company, your people are out there, servicing the needs of the different merchants, different businesses. How do you see this impacting business? Not obviously the general work from home and other stuff. That's happening on the back end. How do you see this impacting businesses overall, globally as well as India?
So, fundamentally, such a big pandemic, we learned words like social distancing, pandemic, etc. There's a new glossary. The other day I got an email to learn the glossary of COVID-19 new words. So,
yes.
So pandemic, etc. So, but what's happening is this pandemic has obviously given a big knock to the whole world. There are many businesses who are suffering. When the COVID-19 broke out, I read about sports goods manufacturers at that time, and that they had orders which had to go to, let's say, cricket bats or helmets. And he said, as holiday season is approaching in India and Europe, our cricket playing countries, which is Commonwealth countries, I export these cricket bats all over the world. But just when the holiday season started, COVID-19 had broken out, and there were no outdoor sports, right?
Yeah.
And he had people in his factory who were working, and he couldn't sell anything. All his earlier orders got cancelled. I remember he was quoting a company. I'll not name the company. He said, I had made so many bats for that company, and that company is selling me. You sell them to me at 25% the price, or else you keep them, because we'll also keep them only. We will not sell them. So how can I give it to them at 25% the price? I said, I don't have money to pay anybody, my workers, and the government at that time was thinking of making policies and telling people not to, lay off people. And look at the hotel industry, look at the hospitality industry. I think the whole environment and the whole horizon has changed in those industries. So some industries have got really very big time hit. And so a lot of SMEs have got hit, and people who are doing businesses, small ones from their homes, have got hit. So I think that phenomena is there across the world, and therefore GDPs have got hit globally. And you look at any GDP, you are saying they are degrowing between -5 to -15%, depending on the country you are in. Similarly, Indian GDP is also degrowing. Q1 of the financial year, April to June, was the worst hit. But at some level, now people are getting used to living with COVID, and therefore GDPs are coming back. Some industries, for instance, ours, and what happens to us is that, you see, we fly our own planes into India. We fly our own planes globally, for that matter. And we kept flying our planes. But half of the movement of goods from India to abroad, half of that happens in the bellies of the passenger planes. So the passenger planes' bellies disappeared because passenger planes disappeared. So half the airplane capacity disappeared from the world, roughly half. Okay, but the demand didn't fall down by half. Demand was still, So therefore, the demand far outstripped the supply in that sense. Therefore, that meant that there was more shipments flowing our way. We had to handle them. And the mirror image was that we had lesser people on the field because we had to follow COVID protocols to make sure that our people are safe. But something happens, right, to our people. It's a people matter, but the people matter also hits business, right? So the first important thing is always watch our people, right? So we had a lot of protocols around our people. That meant that we had lesser number of people on our shop floors, and that we had more material than normal coming in. So we've been handling these challenging times, and that would mean that we've been rediscovering ourselves on a daily basis. It's challenging, interesting, and at some places, as you're watching and there's a COVID case here and there, you have to be very, very careful on how to treat them. So there are very strict protocols around that. So I think the world is completely changing. The way we are working is changing. And if I might touch a bit upon work from home, though everybody talks about it, work from home, but I think if you see that the fundamental thing which comes out from work from home, and there must be a lot of people on this call, that we are working a lot from home. And people and managers used to think, you know what, I can't trust my deputies to be working from home.
Absolutely. Yes.
No, I mean, you can trust, people, they want to do well and they're working so hard. Sometimes we have to tell our people, don't work so hard. Draw a boundary.
That's a problem. People are asking people to take breaks at home because people are working harder than they used to when they were at office. That's the reality.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's a lot of new concepts which have come out. They will have far-reaching impacts. And the new world AC, which is after COVID, and after COVID goes away, will not be the same world BC, which was before COVID. It will be a different world. Things will change. And there'll be a lot of social distancing between different economic things also, between countries. The trade flows will change. The way we do business will change. The way we work will change. The way we live will change, right? So maybe
time for logistics.
Yeah. Whatever happens. And if I may bring in something good right here, so I heard that saying, that everything will be okay in the end, and if it is not okay, it is not the end. It's not the end, right? So that's how it is. Yeah.
I had that printed on a T-shirt way back in 2010.
Yeah.
If it's not okay, it's not the end. I think that's the words we have to live by, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I think great. I think that's brilliant. I think there is the economy will recover, but I think it's going to be a tough journey back to it. We'll have to take a lot of steps to get there. But it's going to be an interesting journey.
Yeah.
Coming to obviously the COVID impact, a few rapid fire questions. Now, I don't know if you're an avid traveler, but once this lockdown and everything opens up, where do you want to travel next? What's your one destination you want to go to?
So I think the first place we want to go to is so my mother stays with me. And my father's no more, but my wife's parents are in Delhi. The first place we want to go is to Delhi to meet them, to stay with them. And the first opportunity we get, I think the first place we'll go is with our extended family in Delhi. So, and more places thereafter.
Simple travel plans.
Yes. Yeah.
Great. Another question. You said you picked up Punjabi when you came to Delhi and it just spurred out of you. Do you have a catchphrase that you say regularly? Is there a catchphrase you say in Punjabi?
Okay.
Takiya kalam in Punjabi.
Takiya kalam. I think Kidda is something which is so powerful, right? Or Kidda. So it's very powerful. I think that's one. I'll have to think a bit. Kidda. I love these kind of phrases. Yeah, so maybe that. Sorry, your rapid fire started, is it?
It started. Yes. Kidna is powerful. Kidna is good enough.
Yeah.
Favorite sport, as you said, you play badminton. Any other thing that you definitely are picking up, you want to pick up as a new sport, as a new hobby?
So I told you earlier, I think Sujoke is something that I'm learning, which is very good. It's basically acupressure. I think it's magical from whatever little I've learned till now. I'm trying to go back to reading my books again. I have a lot of books lying, and somebody who sees my bookstore, they say, "Oh, you read so much," and I tell myself, "Oh, I have to read. I have to read." So yes, I have to get back to more readings. These are some of the new things that I'm trying to pick up and become better at.
I think that's the book reading is a constant problem for every one of us.
Yeah.
What's the one city you want to retire to? You're currently in Mumbai. The city you want to retire in, is it Mumbai or is it Dehradun? Back to Dehradun maybe.
So I think I'm long distance from Dehradun, though it's in my heart. But I think between Mumbai and Delhi, one of these places, most probably. Delhi is our home. Mumbai is our second home, right? So, and it's an outstanding place culturally. If culture eats people, there's strategy for breakfast. Culturally, I think it's fantastic. So Cosmo, the weather is also fantastic. So between Mumbai and Delhi, one of these places.
Amazing. One final question, to obviously you have young daughters who are teenagers. What's your one message to the Sikh youth who are stepping out into the world today, doing their graduation, starting their own companies or joining their first job? What's that one quick message you want to relay to them?
I think I'm nowhere to give a message really, but Guru Sahib left a message. We discussed about it a little while ago. If you are able to comprehend the message, which is such a simple but so powerful, which is Manni Va Matuchi, it's fantastic, right? And the basic values that we follow as Sikhs, Kirat Karna, One Chakna, Naam Japna. I think so. Manni Va Matuchi is that. I think that's a big compass to lead you to success, right? So, yeah. I'll be honest, Ajay, when I say that, I say that to myself also, right? It's a constant reminder to myself, and I'll not be lying, that I'm following that all the time. But all I'm saying is I have to be following that all the time, as long as I'm on that journey, and I keep telling myself that it's outstanding.
Amazing. I think that those are words to live by. I think now that you've said it a couple of times, I think it's so simple and it's yet so powerful. I think, and I'm going to think about it in the next few days.
Okay,
thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sandeep, for the whole discussion. It was absolutely brilliant to have you on board. Absolutely, absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great weekend and Sat Shri Akal.
Sat Shri Akal. Thank you very much.
And we hope to see you again on the show sometime soon. And hopefully in person, I'll travel to Mumbai or you'll travel to Delhi and we'll have this conversation in person as well.
I absolutely enjoy it.
Great to have you on board.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sat Shri Akal. Sat Shri Akal, everyone.
Sat Shri Akal.
Till next Saturday. Bye.